What up, Scrub fam? It's your boy, Frisco 503 XG Productions, bringing another deck profile. First, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Bearded Collectibles, best shop owner on the planet. Get your Set 11 product. It is coming out in a hurry, I tell you, in the next few weeks, early October. And hey, this is another Set 11 brew, and I want to go over it with you. It's going to be a SS3 build, mono blue. Let's kind of jump right into it. First, if you're not familiar with the leader, he's a reboot leader from the one that got banned. Main difference is on the Awaken side, he untaps 3 mono blue energy. On the front side, you can put one from your hand at the bottom of the deck to ramp one from your life. Ramp 1 energy from your life and put it into rest mode. So he's a little bit of self-awakening, but negging yourself a card from hand to do so. So let's kind of jump right into it. First, I want to go over the unisons. I want to go over the baby unison that is coming out in set 11. This unison is absolutely amazing. If you don't know what it does, it's a 3 specified blue plus 2 to draw a card, which SS3's main problems in the early game is card advantage, right? Because you have to use cards ramp to self-awaken to accrue advantage in the early part of the game, and that sacrifices your hand. This unison fits right into it because he nets a card every single turn and accrues that value over the course of the game. And he turns on your Trunks God Sealing, God Sealing, and also your Heroic Prospect as well. Great card for the deck, is a great addition. The -2, you can do the -2. Your leader gets a 15k and double strike as well. So he already gets 5k from the leader when attacking. So there's a 35k double strike when you do the -2. And then you can even pitch 2 cards from hand and activate the baby golden Avenger from your hand to act like a battering. But I'll get to that in a second. The other unison I want to chat about is the Ss4 Goku. This unison is straight fire. It's amazing. I would definitely get your copies. It basically stops your opponent from essentially winning the game for the turns. It's very hard for them to win and get through it, especially when you're going to have 3 energy open with the effect. I'll kind of recap the auto for you. When you play the card, your opponent can only attack with battle cards when they put a battle card that's 2 cost or higher at the bottom of their deck. So it's the only way they can attack with battle cards that turn. So they still get to attack with their leader and unison without using that effect, but the battle card swings requires them to bottom deck a different battle card that's 2 cost or higher. It's a great effect. The -1, draw 2, put 1 at the bottom of your deck, and also the that's a -1. The -2 is you bounce everything, ignoring barrier, back into your opponent's hand, which is a board clear, which is usually what you want to do first. You can board clear and put everything back to their hand, and then they only get to have 2 to 3 attacks pretty much for that next turn, which is super easy to manage to get to the next turn. Next, I want to kind of go over the ebb and flow of the deck here. In the early parts of the game, you're going to really want to Awakening Talent Pan, especially when you're on the play, because on your Awakening turn, you're going to want to be at 4 energy, because when you go to your turn 2, you're going to be at 3 energy, still at turn 2, but you're going to ramp to 3rd energy, and then on your turn 3, you're going to have 4 energy, right? And then that's when you're going to play Pan to make sure that you can awaken, even if you have to use another skill to ramp to get to that awakening, and we usually play the baby unison on that turn, and then you get to have the untap 3. So you definitely want a little bit of self-awakening, especially against a lot of players or decks that want to stifle you from not wanting to awaken too early. So it's definitely needed. And if they do let you ramp 2 energy, you have the Ss4 Vegeta that allows you just basically draw 4 cards. This is just a 30k blocker. The auto is look at the top 4, put any amount of mono blue cards in your energy or your hand. Since the entire deck is mono blue, it's basically you're gonna put all 4 cards in your hand. Since you can't go past 6 energy, it's the permanent of Goku's skill that you can't have more than 6 energy. So he's basically pay 6, draw 4, 30k blocker that untaps at the end of the turn. He's very good, especially if your opponent lets you ramp a 2nd energy and it's going to be a slower game. He's really going to shine, especially against like those green matchups. Next, I want to go over some more of the offensive cards. Let's go over Android 18, Never Ending Energy. This is an absolute staple in the deck. Basically, pay 3, draw 2, 20k beater. It's usually more important than the Aboonies. I'll go over that in a second, but you usually need to see cards to basically survive, and it's not usually the amount of attacks, and a Booney doesn't really close the game until a little bit later if you need when you need it. But Android 18 lets you refill your hand, find those extra negates, those answers to basically just survive extra turns. And it lets you find your Secret, which we'll go over that in a little bit. Another offensive card that I want to talk about is a Booney After Image Slash. This was kind of a controversial card of wanting to get, tweaked, banned, whatever the case was, but right now it sits at 3. 4 felt like too many because I never really wanted to pay it when I was at 4. I never really wanted to play it when I was at 4 or 5 energy. Is usually more like, hey, I established my hand, established the game state. Now I can play my Booney and start trying to win a game at that point. It's not a really great catch-up card. You could, because those tokens can act as combo power, but you really need to find those negates and then find your secret rare as well, because that helps you win the game. The cool thing about this deck now, it allows you to play the new super combo, the Vegeta Disciplined Warrior. He is a very good super combo, especially with this deck wanting to awaken rather early. Basically 10k, put one card from your put one card from your hand at the bottom of the deck, draw 2. So very good with filtering and get rid of your extra unisons and see more of your deck. It's a really good super combo, and that's what I would recommend playing. As far as more of the offensive cards, let's go over Baby Golden Avenger. This card is absolutely insane. It works super well with SS3 because it can be live on both offense and defense. And on offense, it's basically going to act as your battering laser. If you're not aware of that, it's a counter skill. So this card basically reads pay 5. If they try to negate, use a counter play or just a counter attack, you get to negate that, right? Not even negate the in-play autos, but it even stops the negate from happening, like battering laser, which this deck has the energy to afford, because even if you don't win, you're going to be untapping 3 at the end of the turn. Or if you combine it with a Baby Unison, you can pitch 2 cards to do it. Also, it has the counter play, which is if they play something that's 7 cost or less, you basically they put it in their hand so it never gets played, kind of like God Sealing Technique. And then when it comes into play, it does more. You get to bottom deck any threat, ignore and barrier, and you get to draw a card. So it replaces itself. It's a removal, and it's a counterplay or a counter skill. It does everything that this deck needed to bridge the gap from like kind of stifling the game or not trying to win to, oh, hey, I'm about to win the game rather quickly, because it's a triple strike. It does have unique, so you can't chain like multiple in the same turn. You can you can use the counter skill multiple times, even though if you have one on play, but you just can't play it. So you're paying 5 for a battering laser basically at that point, which sometimes can still win you the game. And next, I want to go over a little bit more of the defensive cards. A lot of the deck, as you're going to see, are defensive cards. The main reason why is that when you're untapping 3, you have to utilize that energy, right? Because if you're not utilizing that energy efficiently, then you aren't basically using this leader to its full extent, because then you're just going to be kind of a worse blue deck. So you really want to accrue that advantage on your opponent's turn just as much as you can on offense, because that's how you're going to be able to turn that corner. So as far as the defensive cards, let's first go with Trunks God Sealing Technique. Absolute staple. Bounce anything, counterplay. They don't get the autos, they don't get the in-play effects. Have to have a unison on board with 2+ counters. You have to have 4 in the deck. It's just absolute staple. Next, we have Senzu Beans. I had it at 3 right now. The main reason why is that you have a lot of untap with Senzu Bean, with Dimension Magic. And also the lower to the ground strats aren't as hard to deal with right now. So Senzu Bean kind of loses a little bit of value because everything's so big. There's very rarely swinging with multiple 15k attackers. It's crazy how much this card has felt a little bit worse over time has gone, especially in set 11. But you still gotta to have it as 3. It's hard to trim it any more than that. Just gotta have to respect the card in itself. I already went over the Baby, or already went over the Vegetas and the super combo. The main reason why this deck works too is because of Final Shine attack. This is that negate right here. It's pay 2, negate the attack. You can pitch a mono blue card from your hand to draw 2 new cards. The cool thing about this is that it pitches extra unison cards in your hand. Right now I have 6, so it can sometimes be cluttered, or you can get rid of other cards you don't need, like Awakening Talent Pan, to draw 2 new cards. So basically, like, hey, I play Pan, I take my life, I put it back into my hand, so I have my energy for next turn, or I have a cool pitch target with Final Shine Attack because I want to see 2 new cards because it really already served my value in itself. So it's really good to see more cards throughout your deck, and you really want to get through your deck as much as possible. Let's go over the secret rare, Hatchiak, Baby Hatchiak. So this card is absolutely absurd. That's the main reason why you want to have draw so many cards in your deck. You want to see this card ASAP because then you're just going to feel super safe. Because if you have this and then you play the Ss4 Goku Unison, you're going to just have so many extra turns, and you're going to have so many times that you could play your Aboonies, play your babies, and stop their floodgates from happening while you can start swinging and crew value. And if you can turn the corner and then get cards out of their hand, you might not win the turn that turn you play Hatchiak, but then you're going to put yourself in a commanding position to win the game. So it's not a card that's absolutely going to win you the game, but it's a secret that's at the end of the day, it's going to be like, oh, hey, I won the game because I played it. And just to recap, if you don't know what it is, it's basically a negate. If you have 3 or more energy, you get to pitch 1 card from your hand. You have to have 3 or more energy. You get to counter the attack, and your opponent cannot attack for the remainder of the turn. The only way to stop it is with Cooler or with Baby, which it's the color itself. Not many answers to it. It's a great card. Definitely get it. It's going to be hard to get in set 11 and get your product. Next, I want to go over is Dimension Magic. It's easy staple 4 of. This turns on your Final Shine attacks. It turns on your Son Goku Uneasy Alliance as well. And, so you're able to chain more negates and more negates, more negates with that Dimension Magic. It's absolute necessity. So, and you can untap blue energy with it. And you can even use the Sparking Negate with that too to open up more energy, to even open up like potentially like Baby and stuff like that too, which is kind of cool. So I have Son Goku Uneasy Alliance here. This is a really good card with your Heroic Prospect. So basically you could Heroic Prospect and then you could just bounce it back in your hand, and then your opponent knows you have another negate, or you have another negate for later on for next defensive turn. So it can be kind of demoralizing to reuse floodgates, especially against like things like Dark Brawly and Red Brawly and things like that. Things that are attacking with higher than their energy. It can be very frustrating, and it's a really good card. Or it could be a removal for you, right? You can even bounce their targets for 3 drop or lower as well, which is pretty cool. You can even bounce your own Android 18 back in your hand if you need to have more draw power, so you can just bounce your own Android 18 and you have an offensive play for next turn, which is really cool. Next, we got Hit, Deadly Vanguard. This is a card that's needed for Red Gogeta. The Red Gogeta 5-drop has Deflect, but the Hit 5-drop auto lets you bounce it when it comes into play back into their hand. So if they spend 3 energy, you can spend the 3 energy to stop their turn, and it's basically free. And then Red Gogeta has to do it, because if they don't do it, they're not really progressing the game state. And then you being on the play or on the draw, this can always be live, which is really good. So this is definitely needed. You can even up more copies in the sideboard against Red Gogeta, because Red Gogeta is going to be a good deck. It definitely is. I already talked about Abuni, After Image Slash, Heroic Prospect. It's a 1-drop negate, 15k. This is how you're going to accrue those value over the course of the game, just having those 15k swings and stopping your opponent from attacking. Those Go Tank 6-drops, those Dark Broly's, etc. When those start swinging, they're going to have to bottom deck 2 cards. Really good negate. Definitely need 4 copies in the deck in itself. And that is the deck itself. Things that you're going to negative matchups that this deck's going to have is against Red Broly. It's going to be other things that are super aggro that's going to end the game rather quickly. But anything that's fair, even like Vegex and other meta decks like Red Gogeta and stuff like that, it has a shot against it. It's definitely going to be a deck that you could play in the next set and be successful with it. I like it a lot. It's not going to be like the best deck ever, but I think it's a really good deck, and I think you should give it a try because it's really cool. It's a lot of fun, especially when you get to negate a billion times and then frustrate your opponent, because then it definitely puts them on tilt because it feels bad. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is the deck profile for SS3 Mono Blue. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, bye.